Petrol and diesel prices have risen for the sixth day in a row. Prices as of Tuesday are as high as 73 rupees 95 paise per litre in Delhi and 81.80 in Mumbai. Last Sunday, fuel prices hit a four-year high. Now, since June, retail prices of petrol and diesel are revised on a daily basis and mirror international crude prices. But there is a big chunk of taxes consumers also pay for each litre of petrol or diesel. These taxes were increased when crude prices were lower internationally, but have not been reduced now. Is it a lose-lose situation for consumers, and should the government do something about it? To talk on this, I'm joined by former Oil Secretary SC Tripathi, Congress spokesperson Sanjay Jha, and BJP spokesperson Narendra Taneja. Thank you so much and welcome to all of you on this show. Mr. Tripathi, I'm going to ask you first about the situation we are currently in. But obviously, consumers are upset that they're paying high prices for petrol and diesel. The opposition claims that this is because the government has gone on increasing taxes even when prices are higher. But in your view, is this a situation that can be fixed and where consumers can be, helped a little bit?
You see, in India's neighborhood, and I think in most countries in Asia, perhaps the petrol and diesel prices of India are the highest. When the crude prices came down from 2014, the beneficiaries were government, oil companies, dealers, and of course to some extent consumer. But consumer got only a small share of that benefit that flowed in. The government collected additional revenue by way of additional excise duty that it imposed, which was to the tune of about 10 to 11 rupees per litre on petrol and about 14 rupees per litre on diesel. So in a year, it gave about 170,000 crores of rupees as additional revenue. Government did use it to improve its fiscal situation, and thereby, of course, the inflation came down. But the fact remains that even at this point of time, petrol, the incidence of tax on petrol is about 100%, and on diesel is about 80%. There is scope for reducing it, but since it is so easy to collect these taxes from about 6-7 companies, there is hardly any leakage, there is hardly any cost of collection. Therefore, the governments, both in center and states levy VAT, which is ad valorem, so that is on basic price plus excise duty. So states are also, they feel that their revenues will be affected if the VAT is reduced. And neither the central government nor the state government have really tried to bring down the taxes, since they are so dependent for their revenues on these taxes. In month of October, I believe, due to public response to some of these media reports, the central government did reduce excise duty on petrol and diesel by 2 rupees per litre. But very few states brought down their VAT. Yeah. At this point of time, it seems both states and center, due to their financial situation, are not in a mood to bring down. Now, the only hope is that in due course, petrol and diesel come under GST.
Well, that will happen when it will happen. But Mr. Narendra Taneja, before that, it has become a political issue. The opposition is bringing it up. But even apart from that, consumers are left wondering that why were there higher taxes being paid by them when crude prices were low? Now crude prices are higher, but the incidence of tax has not reduced. Is it because it's like a golden goose? It's low-hanging fruit and easy for the government to tax people who land up at petrol pumps?
No, you see, prices are, on the higher side, no doubt about it. And consumer, I am one of them, we are a little bit uncomfortable because we find the prices a bit too high, both for petrol and diesel. But at the same time, to answer your question directly, this architecture where you have prices and refining cost, and at the same time taxes by the center and the state, this architecture has been in place for decades. It's nothing new. I mean, the only option is to rationalize taxes and to rework the architecture. And in the given situation, my personal opinion is, and that's the opinion of my party too, that the best way forward would be to, in order to recast the whole thing, that we bring petroleum products under GST. We don't think there is any other option or there is any quick fix. As far as taxes are concerned, taxes have been there for a long time. You know, these taxes more or less in the same form. Of course, they keep going up and down at the same time. But we think the best way forward, in the interest of the consumer, in the interest of the consumer's economy and the national economy and national economic security, the best thing would be to bring this under GST as soon as possible. So we have started working on this. We are talking with the finance minister of various states across the country so that we can bring kind of required unanimity in the GST Council.
I will come to GST in just a bit, because that is a long drawn process. The question is, what about now? And here then let me come to Sanjay Jha, saying that is it fair now for the Congress to talk about the taxes that have been levied by the NDA government? Narendra Taneja says that this has been going on for aeons. Every government finds it an easy source of revenue.
Tamanna, I think that is a brazen lie, and it's about time we expose the disingenuous Bharatiya Janata Party. Why is it that when the price of petrol during the time, or HSD, during the time of the Congress-led UPA had touched as high as $150 a barrel? During the time of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister, the price in fact touched below $28 a barrel. Look at the difference between that. It's almost 7 times. And why is it a situation today that the common consumer of India, betrayed and lied to by Mr. Modi's government, is paying through his nose? And I'll tell you the principal reason is a complete lack of transparency, zero transparency. What should the government have done when they announced that the international price of crude oil vis-a-vis the domestic cost that the consumer will pay will be marked to market? Then every time the price fell down, and it came down from around $110 a barrel in May 2014 to as low as $28 a barrel. What happened? All of us paid a huge amount of money. By the way, I want to tell you that the government, at a conservative estimate, collected rupees 5 lakh crores from the common man of India. And, you know, in terms of excise duties, nobody knows where that money has gone, because they have no jobs. Private capital investment is low. There is no great infrastructure investment to talk about. Nobody has an idea where that money has really gone. And I'll tell you the other very unfortunate aspect of the taxation they have done on the common man. You know it, Tamanna, that this is a regressive tax, because when you tax oil, the people of India don't have a choice. They still have to pay the price. So the richest man in India and the man living below the poverty line, the middle class, pays the same price. How is this equitable? I mean, this is discriminatory. It is absolutely hostile to the poor people of India and the middle class. And it exposes this government's brazen lies.
Let me come with a couple of points. And here, okay, I'll allow Mr. Taneja to come in to counter you. Yes, Mr. Taneja?
Now, the point I want to make is that I heard very patiently to the Congress spokesperson, as Jesus Christ said, forgive the man because he doesn't know what he's talking. So this applies to the Congress spokesperson. And you see, the fact is that, you know, transparency. Every day, if you take, you know, little trouble, go to the Indian Oil website, everything is given in detail, complete transparency down to the single paisa. All that you have to do is to go to the net and go to the Indian Oil website every day. This is a ritual. And as far as the money collected, money was not collected by BJP. The excise collection comes to the central government. 42% of that goes to the states. That includes the beneficiaries, include all the states, including Congress states. And the rest of the money, the money is used for development purposes. And if Ujjwala is a big scheme which is empowers 4 crore women, that's thanks to these kind of taxes collected. For the rural development and the roads and all that, which many people will do. Only in the cities they can't see. Third point I want to make is, you see, let's not forget one thing. You see, the Congress spokesperson may not be aware of these things. Dr. Manmohan Singh, when he was the Prime Minister, he took a historic decision. He himself called it historic decision. That was to decontrol price and diesel both. Yeah. So both were decontrolled, which means the price is not determined by the government, but by the market. And petrol was implemented immediately and diesel was implemented later. But that was a cabinet decision taken in 2010 by Dr. Manmohan Singh. Now the problem is the Congress party has disowned him. They're insulting him.
No, Mr. Taneja,
left, right, and center,
remember that
and questioning
clearly
his
when
wisdom.
there used to be an APM system.
Extremely unfortunate.
There used to be an APM system. It was dismantled. And, you know, I'm very keen to focus this discussion on the points that matter. Now, does the government collect all of this revenue and then do nothing with it? I don't think so. Let's fix on the points that are crucial and key, and which is why it's important to compare what we were paying for petrol and diesel in 2015. Okay, petrol prices, for example, 2016 and 2018. We're putting up those figures for you on the screen as well. And here, look at the amount we're paying on top of the base price. In 2015, it was about 30 rupees a litre. In 2016, it's about 37 rupees a litre. And in 2018, current prices, it's about 39 rupees a litre. So the amount we're paying on top of the base price just goes on ballooning. And that is the question, really. And I'm going to come to Mr. Tripathi on it, because we know international crude prices are going up and retail prices are linked to them. That's fine. The jugglery seems to be in the figures. And over here, Mr. Tripathi, is it fair to demand that the government cushion the blow to some extent? Politically, they may have to in the next few days. But is it fair?
You see, government has to find other resources and must also curb its unproductive expenditure. As I told you earlier, this is a tax which can be very easily collected. There is hardly any leakage. There is no cost of collection. So as long as people can bear high prices, government will keep on raising taxes. Government raised taxes to the extent that in a full year from petrol and diesel, because we consume about 10,000 crore liters of diesel and about 3,000 crore liters of petrol. When they increase excise duty by 14 rupees on diesel, so 140,000 crores extra they collected in a year. And similarly, for petrol, they collected about 30,000. So 170,000 crores of rupees in a year extra was collected. It was used to balance the fiscal deficit, to improve the fiscal situation, and maybe to take up many productive schemes. But the government has to find other measures, and they cannot just keep imposing more and more taxes. Look at the other countries. Mr. Taneja may not like it, but Sri Lanka and Nepal, they buy from us and they sell at much cheaper rate. Bangladesh, Pakistan, they don't have an economy like ours. Their prices are also much lower. Yeah. The point I'm making is any country in the development phase has to consume more and more energy resources. And energy resources primarily are electricity and transportation fuel. So we'll continue to consume more. And at this point of time, there are 7 crore two-wheelers. They are driven by lower middle class people. They're about maybe about 80 lakhs to 1 crore cars also. Yeah. But not everyone is a rich man there. So therefore, this is a common man's fuel now. It is not a rich man's fuel anymore. It's a common man's fuel, and it's an essential part of modern life. The government has to consider raising resources from other avenues and moderate them. And at the same time, there is another point I wish to make. The government also looked at the fiscal situation of oil companies and gave them more margins. And they, in turn, gave more margins to the dealer. Now, those things also need to be looked into.
Very fair points there. Yes, Mr. Taneja, would you like to respond?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Just quick points. You see, first is that I buy part of the argument of Mr. Tripathi, and I personally, my personal opinion is we got to do something both at the central level and the states also have to chip in terms of reducing VAT that they collect, and center probably should look at to do something about excise. But that would only bring a very temporary relief. You have to rework the entire architecture. There is no other solution. We can have quick fix for a day or 2 or 3 and all that. We don't know where the oil crude prices are headed. Looking at the geopolitical conditions, you know, and the Iran situation and President Trump's, policies and so on and so forth. So, but with regard to Mr. Tripathi, I'm a little bit surprised Mr. Tripathi is comparing India with Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Nepal. In India, Nepal and Sri Lanka, as you know, they're dependent on us for that, and their economy, they are so dependent. There is no infrastructure in Nepal. There is no tax system in Nepal. There's hardly actually, you know, they have kind of problem. Pakistan, I go to Pakistan regularly. There is no infrastructure. They only work for the army and for 100 families there. Do you want India to become Pakistan in terms of infrastructure and economy? I hope not. That's not what Mr. Tripathi's role model, I hope. But the question is, India, if you want to compare, India has to be compared with China, with other bigger economies, you know, which are facing similar challenges. Emerging economy. Mr. Tripathi, I listened to you carefully.
No,
I listened to you with, please extend the same courtesy to me. Please extend the same courtesy to me.
I think you're twisting his argument a bit. That's why he should have a fair chance to respond.
No.
He is comparing retail
I'm not
prices.
Twisting. No, all I'm saying is Nepal.
Look at China,
I'm comparing
look at Vietnam, look at
I'm comparing the retail prices also in Nepal. In Nepal, you see, the point is we give them oil, and since they don't have the tax system as such, and we keep on giving oil to Nepal for strategic reasons, because if we don't do that, they will become dependent on China, and that will be a strategic loss for us. Sri Lanka's situation is more or less similar. Pakistan has tremendous advantage being an Islamic country. They have more cozy relations. They get better deals from Saudi Arabia and a number of other countries. It's a fact. And at the same time, you know, they don't really need to tax the people so much, because they don't do anything for the development there in Pakistan. Everybody knows that. So there, I'm talking the ground reality. Therefore, the comparison is not fair. And Mr. Tripathi is very well informed on this issue, but he is doing it for whatever reasons that.
What about China and Vietnam? China.
All right, wait. Let me bring in.
No, China. I can give you the example of China. China taxes are there.
Yeah, okay. Let me bring in Sanjay Jha into this discussion.
China taxes there, but dependence on import is only 50%. It's not 83%. Okay. China's dependence is much lower than India.
Okay, let me bring in Sanjay Jha into this conversation and ask you a very clear question, Mr. Sanjay Jha, that recently the BJP asked BJP-led states to reduce VAT to some extent. Not all BJP-led states have done that. Some have. Congress-led states haven't done that. Now, in the interim, you know, before the GST Council decides, eventually states and centre decide on whether to bring petrol and diesel under GST or any other such measures, can the Congress party not help cushion the blow if your chief ministers decide to reduce some of the state taxes on petrol and diesel?
Tamanna, let me tell you, the answer to that is very straightforward. You see, this oil pricing is not a conundrum. It is, in fact, the Bharatiya Janata Party led by Narendra Modi telling the people of India with full-on arrogance, heads I win, tails you lose. So when the price of oil falls, I will still tax you. When the price of oil rises, I will legitimately claim that you have to pay more. I think this is a double whammy that actually goes against the Indian consumer. On the GST question, let me tell you how the BJP lies to the people of India again. You know, Dharmendra Pradhan, Arun Jaitley have made several statements that GST, oil must be brought under GST. Ask them the question, what is stopping them? This is not about Congress or a Trinamool Congress or an AAP in Delhi having any opposition. The truth is that the GST Council can put an item of sensitivity to vote. And if you put it to vote, they have more than 75%. The centre in the states, they are in 21 states. They can impose it. No state can actually oppose them at all. They have the majority. Why are they not doing it? I'll tell you why. I think you know it probably, that you have the fiscal deficit already at 125%. India is not growing fast enough. They are not getting enough tax collections, which is why you find tax terrorism on the corporate sector and the common man and the middle class paying through excise duties and petrol. This is the easy, as you rightly mentioned, it is a low-hanging fruit. It is a lackadaisical, lazy, incompetent government. It is taxing the average man of India and saying, I will daily increase the price on you. You won't even know that.
The point of what is stopping your party implementing it under GST. Mr. Sanjay Jha points out that you have a majority in the GST Council as well by effectively being in power in 21 states.
Right.
With all due respect, Tamanna, I heard the Congress spokesperson, he has no idea.
The GST on petroleum products.
Mr. Sanjay Jha, wait a minute. Let him finish. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Taneja.
Sure.
You see, with all due respect, Sanjay Jha has no idea, absolutely no idea how government, Congress in Karnataka and Punjab function. He lives in Bombay, he has no clue, no clue. He has no idea, and he has no idea how GST Council functions and how the what the tradition is. All decisions are not put to vote; they are taken unanimously. And we are in touch with the finance minister. We know the finance minister of Karnataka. We are in touch with the finance minister of Punjab.
Items are allowed to be put into vote.
So he's shouting. He does not know. He is illiterate. So that's why he's shouting. He is illiterate. He does not economics. He is illiterate and uncivilized. That's what he does.
Mr. Sanjay Jha,
he is an absolutely brazen liar. He's lying on your channel.
He only shouts. He is screaming.
No, he is lying on your channel, and I want to expose him. I want to expose the BJP.
You know what?
They are
liars. I'm sorry.
I mean, you come from a party led by Narendra Modi.
Because no one can really understand what you're saying. No one can really understand the argument on either side, so I'm going to stop.
Who are you to lecture on civilized behavior? Okay. Your president is Amit Shah and your prime minister is Narendra Modi. तुम किसको भाषण दे रहे हो? तनेजा किसको भाषण दे रहे हो यार?
Mr. Tripathi have the last word there.
So he goes for a nickel.
I'll let Mr. Tripathi have the last word there. Mr. Tripathi, is the panacea of all of this now with the GST Council? If the taxation on petroleum and diesel comes under GST, will that be the end of the problem? Only Mr. Tripathi, please.
Now, give me a couple of minutes. I don't want to get into BJP Congress debate, but the fact of the matter is that none of them wants it. Neither the central government nor the state government wants it, because this is a low-hanging fruit and they are very comfortable. I see only one remedy in only one step, that there is a Central Finance Commission which has been established. They should refer the matter to Central Finance Commission, how to bring it under GST and how to moderate the rate over a period of time.
All right. I'll have to end it there. But thank you so much for speaking with us today on petrol and diesel prices. Meanwhile, the daily shocks continue. In the interim, we can only hope that crude prices do ease up and perhaps central and state governments are moved to some mercy on consumers on a daily basis.